The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck. Hello and welcome to the American Sim Racing Camping World Truck Series. This is round 16 coming to you live from New Hampshire Motor Speedway on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman and with me in the booth is Evan Pasoko. The scenes doing all the button pushing is Kevin Brown and our camera sets are provided by Dougie Beard. Evan, we are at the first of 7 races in the chase to finish this championship off. And we are here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this circuit?
Yeah, it's a very, very flat racetrack located in Loudon, New Hampshire. This speedway is owned and operated by Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. Fairly new track, opened back in 1990, but the track itself, it is both an asphalt and granite surface at 1.058 miles in length. The turns have variable degrees of banking, 12% grade from 2 to 7, 1 degree of banking on the straightaway. So again, it's very flat, it's very loose. These guys are going to have to be tiptoeing these trucks through traffic, which can make things real interesting when we see some hot and heavy battles. It is going to be 88 laps tonight at this racetrack, again, just over a mile in length, so going to be in the range of about 90 laps, or 90 miles rather, until we get to the end. But it should be a good one. Again, fixed setup as always, so all these guys are going to be on an even playing field.
Yes, and talking about an equal playing field, that's about what the top 10 drivers in the points find themselves on as we have resetted the chase. So let's give you a rundown here of mainly the drivers who are in the chase. These numbers don't really matter a whole lot because they're so close. We got Gary Whitson, Nick Cohan, Tim Johnston and Bryce Whitson. So the 2 Whitsons in there with Johnston and Cohan, who have been top 5 runners all season. And then some drivers that tend to be consistent and are usually there. Haven't always seen them challenging for the victory, but they certainly can perform. And that's Aaron Kleinhans, Dan Winter, David Gibson, Jim Foose, the league organizer, Jason Kristen and Alex Bates. And really, Evan, in a 7-race chase, all it would take is 1 or 2 bad races for those drivers at the top for consistency to pay off for some of these drivers who usually we're not talking about winning races.
Yeah, 7 races is not a lot of time. It is very easy. Again, even if you have not a terrible night, you still finish on the lead lap, so you get maybe 15th place. That is going to hurt you a lot, especially if the person that gets those bonus points by winning the race is one of the drivers that is in contention to win this championship. So 7 races, I'll give you 1 mulligan, maybe. It depends on the consistency of how everybody else out here is running, but we'll have to see. These tracks that we're going to be running at vary a lot. They're very different racetracks, so they can play into the wheelhouse of a lot of these different drivers, give everybody a shot at it. So it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of get a stranglehold on this points championship and who can lead early, and if they're able to hang on to it, and what happens when we get down to those final, 3-2 races, how it all shakes out.
And to aid our viewers in which drivers are in the chase and which aren't during the race, you will see the drivers who are in the chase have yellow splitters. That is like the very bottom part of the front of the car, and also believe yellow spoilers. Yeah, I'm looking at Gary Whitson's car right now. They have yellow splitters and yellow spoilers, and that tells you that they are in the chase. So keep an eye on those drivers tonight. However, Evan, we also have a lot of drivers out there, obviously everyone else who's not in the top 10, who aren't in the chase, and they're just going to be racing for wins. And right now, the best example of that is Jeff Ward, who probably should have won the race last week, but didn't, and he has been fastest in practice and qualifying here at New Hampshire.
He was able to pick up about 5/100ths of a second over his fastest time in practice. Now, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is at this kind of racetrack. So he sits actually pretty comfortably right now on the provisional pole as just a few seconds remain in the 10-minute open qualifier that determines the field. One of our chase drivers that's not looking too stout right now, Samuel, is Jim Foose. He is P24 on the board right now with a 32.0 second lap time, but there's a lot of trucks. You do not want to be starting towards the tail end of the pack, because that's where things can get real ugly when everybody's bunched together. Jim Foose not going to be wanting to start there. If he cannot improve on his last lap here, he's going to have to do some working up through the field in order to get a solid finish. So qualifying is now rounding down as time begins to come to a close, and it looks like it is going to be Jeff Ward, the number 89 machine, currently sitting at the top of the board. The clock hit 0, the red flag is out, and that will do it with the qualifying time. So we're going to get set for 88 laps here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway as our grid of 30 trucks has been set. On pole position is going to be Jeff Ward, the number 89 machine. It's going to be a 31.287 for that number 1 spot. Adam Benefiel will be starting in second in the number 82 machine. Keith Medeiros, the number 65, is going to be starting in third. And Dan Murray will have the outside of row number 2. That's going to be position number 4. Tim Johnston will round out the top 5, the number 38 machine on the inside of that third row. Tommy Ryan going to be starting in 6th. Gary Whitson, the number 13 machine, is going to start 7th. The 8th position going to go to Cody Gibson. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., the 00, will start 9th. And Steve Ritter going to round out the top 10.
And then we have Dan Winter and Nick Cohan starting 11th and 12th. Jordan Harnish 13th, with Joshua Stenberg lined up alongside him. Daniel Deflin 15th, and Jason Christen, one of the chasers, back in 16th. Jeffrey Gilliam, Jared Haggerty, Aaron Kleinhans, the chase driver, and Ricky Hardin, who we usually see a bit higher than that, will round out the top 20.
Mark Allen, the number 17 machine, is going to start in 21st. These drivers on row 11. Adam Blattle, the 104, is going to start in 22nd. Jim Foose, championship hopeful, back in 23rd position. Betty Allison, the 05, will start in 24th. 25th position is going to be Alex Bates. David Gibson outside of him in the number 26 position. Tim Knott going to be starting 27th. 28th going to be Carson Ove, and he is the last car to take time to back row. 29th position going to go to Skip Witt. And Sean Music going to be scheduled to start P30, not currently on the grid as we get set to roll off.
Yeah, and so Jim Foose did a nice job there of being able to pick up one spot at the very end of qualifying from 24th to 23rd. That will probably help him starting on the inside line. Alex Bates actually starts a bit further behind him. Now, don't discount them for today, because they were only 0.8 of a second off the pole time, which isn't a whole lot, but it just the pack is so close that they're all that 0.8 of a second takes you from first to the back. Now we see a couple cars pulling up next to the wall in turns 1 and 2, including Tommy Ryan, the number 16 car, who was meant to start 6th. These are drivers that have been given an EOL penalty, end of line penalty for whatever reason, and will start at the back. Other drivers who got that penalty were Tim Knott, Ricky Hardin, Mark Allen, and of course Tommy Ryan. It looks like it's just one pace lap around here, so we should get racing this time by, with the Yeti Chevy Silverado of Jeff Ward on pole on the inside line, and Adam Benefiel up on the outside line outside of him. This is 88 laps. It's the first race of the 7-race race, and it is about to get underway here at New Hampshire. Side for the top 2 positions. Jeff Ward on the inside is going to get it over Adam Benefiel. The 3rd place truck trying to challenge for a second as the 65 is unable to get a nose there, and the crossover by Adam Benefiel off of quarter number 2. He's going to go to the inside on Jeff Ward. They'll be door to door back into 3. Adam Benefiel has crossed, had set that up before they ever entered turn 1 really, but now he's sliding up a little bit and he's not going to get a good of an exit on Jeff Ward here. Oh, and there's a spinner. Around goes Dan Murray. That's going to bring out our first caution. He was standing in 3rd. And so, caution after the first lap. They are very, very loose. This racetrack has progressive banking. Again, we talked about it. Only from 2 degrees to 7. So they're running down there maybe 3-4 degrees of banking where that groove is. 5 got sideways off the corner. He turned the wheel to the right.
couldn't hang on to it. Our leaders were sideways too. Adam Benefield was kind of seesawing at the wheel to hang on to it. He was side by side with Jeff Ward, obviously up front, but I mean, Dan just lost the handle of it, and by the time he tried to pick it up, he went around. He did make contact with the inside retaining wall. Luckily enough, did not bounce back up into traffic, and it looks like everybody else was able to get through without incident. But tough break for not only the 5 machine, but that does slow us back down already, and we'll group them back up for a lap 1 caution flag.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to note after qualifying is that Tim Johnston was our best chase qualifying. He only started 5th. He's actually now going to restart 4th up on the eye line. Obviously, no one coming in to put on tyres or fuel up yet, although we do expect them to have at least 1 pit stop during this race. But I'm looking down the order, and I only see 4 of our drivers in the chase in the top 10, Evan. So really, there's a lot of chase drivers back there in the danger zone.
The back cars towards the back half of the field have come down pit road for some repairs. One machine has some damage. The 05 machine of Benny Ellison has rear end damage after the caution fly, or right when the caution was flying, we had an incident on the front straightaway where the 85 machine, it looks like in front of him, Aaron Kleinhans, moved up to avoid Dan Murray on the bottom. That caused the 05 to check up, and the machine behind him really had no idea that that checkup was going to be coming, and that was going to be the 90 machine getting into the back of him. So Skip Witt gets into the back of the 05. That causes some damage to Benny Ellison. He's gotten his machine fixed. But about half the field came down for some sort of service, tires, fuel, and some damage repaired. But none of our leaders came down that time.
Yeah, and Aaron Kleinhans is one of our chase drivers, but fortunately only minor damage. Skip Witt, who was involved in that, is not one of our chase drivers. He is one of the drivers who did not get a lap on in qualifying, so he started from the back. He's got a bit of damage, but he's got 80 laps between now and the end to make it up. Pace lights are still on, and really, Evan, we're seeing a repeat of last week's race at Chicagoland, with this battle between Jeff Ward and Adam Benefield up front.
Yeah, they've asserted themselves as some of the top runners as they run right now, P1 and P2. Adam Benefield running a relatively part-time schedule, is not eligible to be racing for that championship, but he is no stranger to running up front, and definitely could be one of the drivers that we could consider a spoiler here. Comes into this chase again. There are only 10 out of the 30 cars that started this race are battling for the championship. So 2/3 of these guys are trying to play the role of spoiler and take away the wins from those chase hopefuls and, you know, get to victory lane on their own. As the lights have gone off in the pace car, we will go back green. Looks like going to be on a lap 6 restart as the field paces out of corner number 2.
Yeah, and some more cars just coming, trucks rather, just coming down pit road for a couple more repairs, but we will keep our attention up front on this battle between Jeff Ward and Adam Benefield, because they certainly want to take the W today, and obviously that will help them get off to a better start next season. Meanwhile, in the second row is Keith Meadows, a name that we haven't heard a whole lot. He's restarting 3rd on the inside line, and then Tim Johnston, one of our chase drivers, up there on high line. Here they go. Jeff Ward has control of the field again, brings him down at a slow pace, gets on the gas well, already has about a 2-truck length lead heading into turn 1. He can afford to use the entire racing line.
And it was a small challenge from the Aaron Chevrolet of Keith Medeiros, but was unable to get that done. And now he's going to get a run on Adam Benefield. Benefield single filed out to get the number 2 spot. Top 5 are single file. Looks like first battle side by side is going to be for 6th. It is the 13 of Gary Woodson. Drove it in real hard in the 3. He's trying to get to the inside of the 9 car of Steve Ritter. He does so, but the 9 is holding that preferred lane, and that 13 machine cannot be down towards that apron because, again, it just gets so loose on exit. He slides back a spot. He's trying to hang on to being side by side with the 21 Nick Cohan. That would be for P7. They're going to be door to door for that spot off the corner. But again, 13 sideways. He gets real down low on corner exit.
These are 2 of your top chase drivers, right here are Nick Cohan in the number 21 truck and Gabby Whitson in the number 13 truck. So they're going to want to be a little bit careful now. Granted, they can afford to spin this early on, but you can't really afford to put your car in the wall too hard this early on, because the ASRS does not have free repairs. If you put your truck in the wall, you are done. And even though it's only a 1 mile speedway around here, these trucks are carrying a lot more speed than you think they are. And to see Gary get loose there a little bit, and he has lost a bit of ground on Nick Cohan now.
Yeah, a couple of guys had a close call there with the wall off the corner, but definitely the 21 machine got right up to it. Doesn't look like he made contact as he continues to drive. By the way, update on the top two runners right now. Jeff Ward is continuing to run P1. He has 0.2 of a second over Adam Benefield. But we're bumper to bumper right now for P9, the 57 of Jared Haggerty. 1, 2, 3 shots to the 00 and tries to make a move to the inside off the corner. Not an ideal place to do it, and nearly loses it. He'll lose a couple trucks down into corner number 3, but Jared Haggerty letting the 00 machine of L. Bryce Whitson Jr. know that he's there and wants by. That would be the benefit for P9.
Yeah, and look how all these trucks have navigated up towards the High Line, and historically, tracks where the High Line is the desired line make it hard for passing, because the truck in front of you, even if he's slower, will just hold that High Line and not let you by. So the only way to try and make a pass really is get on the low line and try and dive bomb someone. Who's that in the grass on the backstretch? It is Adam Blatto running in 15th. He has lost a lot of spots in that number 104 truck, and he's actually going to go 3 wide with Benny Ellison, who makes contact with Jordan Harnish there, but it looks like they're going to get themselves sorted out.
Yeah, the 104 goes to the bottom, down the front straightaway, allows that side-by-side battle in front of him to pull away, so it's not forced to be 3 wide. That was Dan Murray and the 51 machine. Murray's going to get clear of Jordan Harnish and now try to work up on the 05 of Benny Ellison. That would be a side-by-side battle, and it is, as they go door-to-door down the back and into corner number 3 for the number 23rd position. They're going to go 3 wide again. The 05 way overdrives that corner. Both Murray and the 51 get clear of him from there, and it's the 05 machine that's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, some very exciting racing at the back. Front still remains a little bit spread out. Now, who's that up in the wall? Ricky Hardin is in the wall, and he's losing a lot of spots.
Yeah, trouble for Ricky Hardin as he is going the wrong direction on the outside lane, down the back straightaway. The 141, now the 81 gonna go to the bottom and attempt to get around him. That will cycle him back to what's gonna be P28 of 29 trucks that took the green flag. Not the way Ricky Hardin was hoping his night would go. He did qualify P20, so sliding backwards, and also appears to have a little bit of connection issues with the sim, having a little bit of blinking down the front straightaway, but he does drop the P28.
Meanwhile, there's been a change for second, and see a truck in the wall on the backstretch. Number 91 of Joshua Stenberg got in the wall going down the backstretch. Not too much damage, though. I actually see a lot of trucks in the middle of the field with damage. One of them, Jason Christen, running in 11th place, who is actually one of our chase drivers, though we don't talk about him a whole lot. But honestly, he is about the 4th highest running chase driver right now. A good night going so far for Jason.
You said when we were talking through the points that you don't need to go out there and win every race if you want to be in a championship. Now, when it comes down to the latter stages, final few races, you got to be running top 5 depending on how the points are. But he's running 11th right now. You said that's 4th highest amongst the chase drivers or so. So he's able to run around right there and would get a solid points night out of tonight's race. You talk about all the right side damage, and again, I think that's going to be a recurring theme tonight, that you want to drive the corner, you want to get back to the gas, you got to tiptoe it so much that, you know, it's very easy to overshoot and push, and that's what we see guys continuously getting in the fence. Speaking about overshooting at 65 with way high there, Keith Medeiros, who runs P2. He's trying to track down Jeff Ward. It was half a second last time. By this time, Scoring's good update, and that gap will be increased by 5/100ths by Jeff Ward. So 0.55 seconds separate the top 2 on the racetrack, as Adam Benefield slowly starting to slide backwards in 3rd.
Yeah, meanwhile, we do still have 29 trucks in the race, but there are severe connection issues for Carson Orbay running in 29th. and I have a feeling they may have just lost the connection. But if that's the case, really, that's only our first retirement of this race. We still have 28 trucks circulating out here after 16 laps. Now remember, if there is no caution, these drivers will have to make a pit stop. Not too difficult to make it under green flag here, as Seacock Stenberg losing another couple of spots. I don't know if he got on the ball there. Still a bit of shuffling going on through the middle of the field, but it looks like everyone right now, Evan, being very generous, giving each other plenty of room. Obviously, as laps wind down, that will stop being the case.
And Jim Foose is trying to march his way forward after a subpar qualifying effort that him and the Menard Chevrolet team wanted. Right now is having some trouble because Dan Murray on the inside is about to get him for P20. Dan has it at the stripe. We're going to go down into corners number 1 and 2. The 2 of Foose can try to battle back on the outside lane. Only issue is the 3 of David Gibson is running up there. So if he were to get a run on that 5 of Dan Murray, really would have nowhere to go. And Dan Murray does get clear off of corner number 2. The 2's going to flash nose out to the outside lane, but Dan will get P20. So Jim Foose, the number 2 machine, will slide back to P21. Again, he qualified 23rd, but he's going to need to pick it up here. And it looks like this race could have a decently length green flag run, so he really needs to be consistent and navigate these traffic well if he wants to be able to pick his way through the field. Now we hear that Carson Obey is going to be coming down pit road from P29. As he sits about 26 seconds off the pace of the first car down pit road for some extended service.
Yeah, I can't see him lasting too much longer. His connection is absolutely awful right now. Meanwhile, Keith Medeiros has slowed up a little bit, and as a result, Adam Benefiel in third place has been able to catch back up with him. They've got a bit of a gap behind and a bit of a gap in front of them. These trucks running almost a second slower than what they were at the start of the race. The tyres are beginning to burn off a bit, but Jeff Ward is, he hasn't really separated like Scotland, but at the same time, he does have a decent sized gap on this battle for second.
Adam Benefiel is going to be able to clear Keith Medeiros down the front straightaway, so that position swap for the number 2 position. It looks like Medeiros actually kind of stepped out of line and let Benefiel go by him. So that will cycle the number 65 machine of Medeiros back to P3. Benefiel goes back up to second. But even with that very quick exchange for position, it is going to allow Jeff Ward to pick up some more time. The last time it was 0.7 of a second over the truck that was then P2. This time, scoring get updated, it's going to be 9. So Jeff Ward nearly opening up that gap to about a second over now once again second place runner Sir Adam Benefiel, who is also showing a little bit of right side damage. The right rear looks caved in on the number 82 machine.
Meanwhile, I'm watching the battle for about 20th position with David Gibson, who is one of our chase drivers, holding off a whole pack, being led by Jordan Harnish and Jim Foose, actually, one of our chase drivers, losing a couple of spots. Now in front of this pack is Dan Murray, who's trying to rebound from that spin earlier that brought out our first and so far only caution. But this pack, they're passing each other, and a couple of them certainly have dents on their trucks.
And you mentioned that these guys can't keep bouncing off the wall. This racetrack does not have the aero sensitivity. Oh, in trouble. Aaron Kleinhahn sideways off the corner. What a save. Skip Witz able to get by him. The 85 hangs onto that, so close call. He'll cycle back to P15 on that one, but a good piece of driving there. But this racetrack and these trucks, you don't need to be as aero-sensitive as Talladega, but that doesn't mean you can just keep hitting the wall. You can go with a little bit of right-side damage, but sometimes, you know, it can be deceiving. It can look like that car's pretty fine, a little bit of cosmetic damage.
Jordan Harnish just checked up, and David Gibson's in the wall. One of our chase drivers, he's got a lot of damage. I don't know why. Yeah, it was a caution for something else, because Jordan Harnish just slammed on the brakes before they were ever near turn 1. David Gibson ran into him and hit the wall. So I don't know if there was a caution that came out, and that's what Jordan was reacting to.
The caution does come out for David Gibson up against the fence, I believe, when he stopped and trying to see what happened there, but there was definitely something with the number 51 of Jordan Harnish, who immediately slowed down, trying to, you know, get an update on his speeds. And I mean, it's a strange incident. I don't know if they had any sort of run in before. They had swapped that position the last couple laps, so not sure if the 51 was upset with him, but it looks like just kind of a strange incident and a tough break for that 3 of David Gibson, who was having a decent night going. And again, all of a sudden that machine in front of him just slammed on the brakes. Don't see any reason in front of Jordan that would have caused that, but definitely a strange incident as Jeff Ward leads down the leaders onto the pit lane.
Yeah, and talking about chase drivers having rough nights, let's make a note that Evan Cleanhands, the truck we almost saw spin right before that caution, was also a chase driver. So Jeff Ward leading them into the pits. I have a feeling most trucks will take 4 tires, although who's that? Daniel Deffler beats him out, but he's got a lot of damage on his truck, so I have a feeling he missed his pit stall. Jeff Ward leads the rest of the trucks out the pit road. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back for the restart. Welcome back here to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where we are just finishing up our second portion of the race, which involved chase driver David Gibson, who lost a lap under this caution while getting repairs. But Evan, all he needs is another caution. He'll be able to get the lucky dog and get back on the lead lap, and maybe we'll see him up there racing Jordan Harnage again.
Yeah, he's been able to get that machine relatively fixed. Again, he is the only truck off the lead lap, so if a caution were to fly in a relative distance between now and when we go back green before the leaders start lapping people, he'll be able to get back up on the lead lap, and we'll have some laps to get back in contention as we get set to go green off of corner number 4.
Top 4 Jeff Ward, Adam Benefield, Keith Medeiros, and Tim Johnston. The only one of those who's a chase driver is Tim. Jeff Ward gets a good restart again, and providing he hits his marks for these first couple of laps, he should be able to pull away for that lead, with that lead. So the battle is on for second, where Keith Medeiros in the Aaron's number 65 truck is giving it all he's got on the low line, but he gets a little bit loose there, and Adam Benefield gets a run off of 2.
Yeah, he nearly gave him too much off the corner, and now the 65 is going to dive down back in line, so the 82 of Benefield now has control of the number 2 spot. The top 5 have single filed out side by side for 6th on back. It is the 07 of Cody Gibson under attack. Looks like the 00 of L. Bryce Whitson Jr. going to get him on the outside, and down into corner number 1 will be clear. More side by side behind him. 2 chase contenders, the 13 of Gary Whitson trying to get around the 21 of Cohan, and it looks like Cohan's going to have the advantage off of 2, and he'll get that spot as well down the back.
To avoid any confusion, there are 2 Gibsons in this race. Cody Gibson, who runs in 7th, and that number 07 truck is not in the chase. It's David Gibson who is, and that's the driver of the blue number 3 truck who lost a lap under the last caution. But look at this Hornet's Nest battle for the about 10th. They're going to be wide back there, actually. There is a lot of action going on here with Jared Haggerty, Skip Witt, Jason Christian, one of the chase drivers, and Darren Cleanhands, who's also a chase driver.
Yeah, a little bit of a bobble there for Skip off corner number 2. He's able to hang on once again. And oh, we got real close to the left rear there, down into corner number 3 on the 85 of Aaron Kleinhans. They're able to stay off of each other and will go side by side off the corner once again. They're racing very hard for what is going to be position number 12. Kleinhans had it at the stripe, and he'll get cleared down into corner number 1. So it looks like the outside lane is actually starting to prevail a little bit more since we've gone back green. The majority of the passes have been made up there. Whoa, somebody way off track. Kleinhans, and he saves it. He got way sideways off the corner, and he did get the inside wall, so he's not able to save it. He pancaked that machine, and yeah, he's on the access road. We're going to get that replay up. That 85 is torn up. He's coming down.
Yeah, he is using the road course right now to get around the pit road, so definitely one of our first racers to have an issue, so he's going to hope that everyone else has an issue at some point during the chase. And I'll tell you right now, Gary Whitson just lost a bunch of spots off of 2 and another drive off into the grass. And that is Alex Bates, but he's able to save it. He is also a chase driver, so these chasers are really having a couple of scares. And as we watch a replay of this, I will make a note.
It's, top runner. And it looks like it's going to be Adam Benefield is into the inside wall off corner number 4, and we're under yellow. Wow. Similar to what we saw happen to Dan Murray. That thing just went right around from second spot, and he went nose first into the wall.
Well, Adam Benefield is not a chase driver, so he's simply here for the fun and for the win, and maybe he can still have fun out there, but I think the win might escape him, which is certainly going to be a benefit for Jeff Ward. But I was just about to mention before that caution came out, we actually have 30 trucks now in the race. Sean Music, who was in the practice session but didn't qualify and didn't start from the grid, has joined the race 31 laps down, so he's running out there in the number 24 truck as our 30th driver in the race right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if he's able to get 15 laps, he will get 1 spot from Carson Obey, who has disconnected from the race, but I mean, no realistic shot at getting anything more than that. I mean, this race starting to close in on 50 laps to go. He is 31 laps off, so even if anybody wrecks out right now, he'll still have, I mean, a decent amount of laps that he'd have to make up on them if he wants to get any spots. Jason Kristen going to be leading the group down pit lane. A couple of takers, some guys stay out, but Kristen is going to be the first person down pit road, as Jeff Ward will elect to stay out from the number 1 spot.
Correct, that's Steve Ritter in the first one down pit road, and I have a feeling that wasn't no great decision by him. I mean, you never know with these races which strategy is going to turn out, but a lot of drivers up front were faking whether they were going to come in or not, and basically he was one that fell victim. Everyone else in the top 10 stayed out and he came down. Now I'll tell you something that just happened on the backstretch. David Gibson just got the wave around the pace car, so he's back on the lead lap. But as he was getting the wave around, Keith Medeiros didn't realise he was coming around, swerved up onto the high line, warming up his tyres, and basically drove David Gibson into the wall. So David's got a bit more damage to deal with now, but he is back on the lead lap.
Yeah, and he made more contact, I think, with the 65's right door than he actually did with the fence, because he looks to be sporting some left front damage on his machine. Trying to get a good angle if I can take a look at Medeiros' truck, and oh yeah, look at the right front of that 65 machine. That's torn up pretty bad there by the right front tire.
Yeah, he should have been watching in his mirror, and I don't know. I can't imagine it. If it hasn't knocked the toe out, he might want to consider staying out. But meanwhile, let's give a shout out to the driver that moves up into 3rd now, Tracer Tim Johnston, because of course with Adam Benefield's spin, Adam Benefield now just being registered right outside the top 20, that gives Tim another spot. And if he has a pace in him, which honestly I don't think anyone has a pace to battle Jeff Ward at this rate, but we'll see as the race goes on, Tim could be the chaser to battle for the win today.
I tell you, Keith Medeiros is lucky that there are not tire rubs because, again, that sheet metal is all torn up on the right front. He has asked the other drivers, he pulled up next to them to give them the, ask them if they could relay information to him because obviously he does not have access to the angles in the car that we can see immediately that show the pretty severe right front damage on his screen. He sees a little bit of hood damage on the right, but doesn't know the extent of it. So we need to keep an eye on him to see how, if at all, that does affect him after he's going to be restarting here in second as we go down the back straight with the lights back off on the pace car. So a lap 39 restart. That is going to be 50 laps to go, Samuel, but we'll keep an eye on this 65 to see how he holds out.
Yeah, this race certainly seems longer than the normal ASRS race, but it is passing by okay, and we should be able to finish before the 1 hour 15-minute time limit. Let's not forget that these drivers are also racing carefully because there is an incident point limit in this race. If you get involved in too many incidents, even if your truck's not that badly damaged, you may be disqualified and leave the race. So let's see what kind of restart Jeff Ward gets. He gets a good restart, so the battle's going to be on for second again between the damaged Keith Medeiros truck and Chaser Tim Johnston, who's actually battling Chaser L. Bryce Wilson Jr. for third.
Yeah, the side-by-side battle for third is going to be with those two chase contenders, the 00 on the outside lane. That is L. Bryce Wilson Jr. He's going to be clear, so Tim Johnston is forced to dive back into position number 4. As Medeiros obviously was able to immediately get single file for second. Jeff Ward had another great start. He kind of took off. First side-by-side battle is going to be called the 57 J.R. Haggerty. Oh, the 90 on the inside. Skip Witt again getting real close to the left rear of his machine. This is 8th on back.
And Skip dive bombs the turn, but Jared Haggerty gets up into no man's land and is losing a bunch of spots. He's going to come off 3 wide alongside Jeffrey Gilliam. And there's another 3 wide going on back there where a couple of trucks almost getting together. Ricky Hardin's one of the drivers losing a lot of spots because of that. They're 3 wide, about 3 rows deep. Beginning with Benny Anderson on the outside. Chaser Jim Boos in the middle.
And they're still 3
and
wide. They went 3 wide through the whole corner.
It's all happening. I can't believe they're still racing like this.
They're still 3 wide into 1, and finally Jim Boos is going to slide in behind the 05. Typically, you're going to see back at it then, Samuel. There was a chase guy right in the middle of it, and Jim Boos was not lifting, and they went 3 wide for about 3/4 of a lap.
Yeah, I mean it's still double file, which is bad enough around here, honestly. Between Adam Plato and Jim Boos, these drivers between 10th and 20th have really been putting on the main show today, and a lot of them have beat up fenders, but their aero's not hurting them too much yet. But it's just the way the track works. Sometimes dive bombing the turn pays off, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you get loose on exit, and that's what we end up. We end up with these massive, I don't even know, with packs of cars. Adam Plato, Alex Bates, who's the chaser, and Adam Benefield continue the battle. Remember, Adam Benefield was running up in second earlier. He's mired back in 20th. He might have to use some strategy to get
the 45 comes down on him. And that's going to put Benefield, he's in the wall. Wow.
No caution. They keep it pointed in the right direction, but really, I was concerned for Alex Bates there because he is a pace driver.
Yeah, it looked like that the machine up top just didn't even know he was there and just turned dead left on Adam Benefield. So Adam's going to remember that. Interesting thing to me, does he give him the bumper as a little bit of payback? They're separated by about 2 trucks, but I mean, clearly Alex Bates just turned dead left. Again, I don't think he had any idea that Adam Benefield was there. It looked like he was trying to he just came down and hit that 82 3-4 times. And Benefield eventually did get the inside wall. Benefield's going to get side by side with him now down the back straightaway, and no contact. They'll make the pass clean down into 3. But again, a tough break for Benefield. He knows he's got a fast truck. He's got stuck back in traffic, and he doesn't need any more damage to hinder his progress. Back up.
Yeah, Alex Bates doing his best Nicholas Frost impersonation there, it seems like, but it seems that they've learned their lesson and are racing cleaner now. And all of a sudden, the 3 wides have seen a single filed out, but don't mistake that for drivers not getting in the wall. Chaser Jason Christen, who was running 14th, just got a large piece of the wall coming out of turn 2, and he's got a lot of damage to the right-hand side of that number 0 shooter.
I'll tell you, Jeff Ward is
Oh,
starting
we
to
got to
check
spin
out.
them. No, it was just Tim Knott. He got turned in turn 3 and 4, but was able to save it. Did a bit of drifting there after contact from behind by Mark Allen. And Tim Knott basically had it sideways through turns 3 and 4.
He was the pinball there. He got hit from behind. He ran into the truck in front of him, got hit from behind again, and went sideways and finally was able to hang on to it. That will cycle him back to behind Aaron Kleinhans for P28. But the top two have really checked out. Third on back are separated by about maybe 2 truck lengths apiece for those first few spots. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., who rides third, is 2.6 seconds back from Jeff Ward. And Keith Medeiros, who rides second, is about a second and a half on Bryce, but is over a second back from Jeff up front. So the top two are pulling away, but at the same time, Jeff Ward checking out from everybody else. That 89 machine is looking very stout and is easily going to be a threat here for this win. As that time by, it was 41 to go.
Yeah, and you mentioned Aaron Kleinhans there, Tim Knott falling behind him. Aaron Kleinhans, remember, spun off of turn 2 earlier, got a piece of inside wall and had to hit on the green. He is 5 laps down now, so definitely not a good chase race for Aaron Kleinhans. Meanwhile, the first battle on track actually involves the chase driver, Gary Whitson, and Steve Ritter trying to make his way on by him. And I'm pleasant. Oh, and Steve Ritter gets loose in turn 3 and 4, is able to hold on to it though. And Dan Murray, remember Dan Murray? He spun on the first lap of the race. He has now made his way back up into the top 10. But I've got to be honest, Devin, I'm surprised at the amount of new names we've seen in this race. And they're all racing up there in the top 10 as we see contact behind between Stick Witt and Jared Haggerty. Jared makes the move stick though.
Ooh. That 90 machine is really struggling to hang on to it. Skip Witt is running really good lap times, but I mean, he's just so unstable off the corner. He's been bouncing off of everybody the last few laps. He thinks about going to the inside on the machine in front of him. The 51 and Jordan Hardish can't get that job done, but again, it's just so easy to get sideways off the corner, much like we saw last week at Chicagoland, another racetrack where corner exit can be pretty tricky in these trucks, especially on a fixed set where everybody's got to run the same thing. It's, again, just one of those calamity corners, one of those spots at the racetrack that you really got to be careful. We got a battle for P4. The 21 at Cohen is under attack. The 07 Cody Gibson on the outside lane is trying to get clear of him. The Voodoo Ride machine up top will have it at the stripe. The 21's going to try to keep a nose, and he's not going to be able to do so. Down into the corner, Cody Gibson will clear him for position number 4. And now the 21 at Cohen's giving him another run at it. Gibson will get that spot off the corner, and now 38 of Tim Johnson sets his eyes on a Cohen down the back.
Yeah, I'm going to say, while that was going on, Tim Johnson was licking his chops because he's in the chase too. So this is a battle for pretty much second chaser of the race with Bryce Whitson in front of him. It's between Nick Cohan and Tim Johnston, but actually it spreads out a little bit now. Meanwhile, I've been keeping half an eye on Adam Benefield, who I believe has now moved his way up into 16th place. And now that everyone's stopped running 3 wide, Adam Benefield beginning to pick up spots. He would need a couple more cautions and a bit of strategy to go his way, I think, to get back up there at the front base. Certainly trying, and who's that who's spun? It's Adam Blattle. I don't think it's going to win out for him.
No cautions out. So we will get the caution as Adam Blattle goes around in the number 104 truck. Again, self-spin off the corner. He was on the left rear of the 2 of Jim Foose, trying to get a little bit more. And again, just overstepped that limit and split it out. And we're going to go back under caution now with inside 40 laps to go. The halfway point has come and gone, and now is when things are going to get real interesting. If somebody's going to try to make a play on maybe some pit strategy, it's going to go down maybe at this portion in the race. We'll go green. I want to say maybe 33, 32 to go.
Yeah, we're probably gonna see the most of the leaders come down, because remember the leaders did not pit under the last caution, and here they come, being led in by Jeff Ward, Keith Medeiros. So let's keep the camera on pit. I don't think they are. Everyone is coming in. So now the question becomes, who's going to take 2 tires and who's going to take 4? I have a feeling you're going to see 4 tires by most of the drivers, but maybe for someone like Adam Benefield we'll only see 2.
Yeah, so Jeff Ward is going to come in and he will have that #1 pit stall again. So you have to think he'll be the best off of the drivers that are going to go with 4 tires. He's not going to be the first one off pit road. Gary Whitson, the number 13 machine, is going to go with a right side only call, which will exit him in the #1 spot. Jeff Ward takes obviously 4 tires. Third truck off, also on 4 tires, is going to be L. Bryce Whitson Jr. So let's see how this one shakes out for Gary Whitson. It's not like he was way back in the pack, but he's a chase contender, and he's making a gamble to try to get some extra spots here and possibly challenge for that W.
And another driver looks like only took 2 tires was Jordan Harnish. Jordan's not in the chase, he's just here for the win. He's ran up front before, and if I remember, Jordan Harnish was in the chase, but then got knocked out after missing about 5 races. And from what I remember of his racing style, he is not a driver. He is a driver who is not afraid to get right up there on someone else's fender. And I remember the first ASRS race I think we called was at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And there were 100 times where co-commentator Richard Losper and I were just watching Jordan Harnish, about ready to call him wrecking, but he never wrecked. He actually crossed the line with a pretty clean truck. He just really is good at millimetric precision, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do up front there on 2 tires.
Yeah, he should be able to get that lead right off the immediate start, and then it's a question of how good is he going to like that clean air out front. Jeff Ward has pretty much led all of this race. He's been up front, and when he has been up front, he has been up front by a lot. So he rides right now P2. You have to assume that he's going to be battling for second. L. Bryce Whitson Jr. may give him a challenge for it into the corner. But Gary Whitson, the key to this is going to be getting a good start because he wants to get clear and get a little bit of buffer between him and those guys on 4 tires. And hopefully, in his case, that the clean air up front plays into his ballpark, and the number 13 Sunoco machine can stay out front and lead a couple of laps here and be there in contention in just over 30 laps for that checkered flag.
Alright, well the pace lights are off, and looking forward to calling this one because we're not quite sure how Gary Whitson is going to handle this restart. Is it going to be someone who gets on the gas early or who gets on the gas late? And you know, if whatever he does, how well will Jeff Ward be able to respond to it? We'll find out in just a second here. He's already laying back a bit of a pace car, so really he has opened up that track for himself. He can choose when he wants to go, and he goes now, and Jeff Ward gets an okay-ish restart, but at the same time, Whitson's able to run away from him a little bit, but I think Jeff Ward has Bryce Whitson cleared through turns 1 and 2, so it's single file from second down to back about 4th, although here comes Keith Medeiros, and there's contact back there, off into the grass trucks, and into the wall. Who is that? It's Dan Murray. Dan Murray, who had rebounded up to the front, gets in the wall again.
He got hit because they were 3 wide. It was the 9 machine who got sideways, and Dan Murray gets the short end of the straw on that one. Meanwhile, battle raging on up front as Jeff Ward got a wicked run out of 2.
On the front stretch. Tim Knott upside down. Ricky Hardin spins around.
Caution gonna fly just a couple laps off that restart after contact between 2 trucks. It looks like the 17 machine of Mark Allen may have started it. He had a little bit of a wiggle went up the racetrack. It also looks like the 141 came down a little bit, but nonetheless, him and Tim Knott go into the fence, and Mark Allen's able to drive away from it, and again, Tim Knott is going to get the brunt of that as he went around it. The 98 tough break went to the bottom, all the way to the fence, trying to avoid him. Couldn't do so, and Tim Knott ended up on his lid, did a couple of rolls there, so him and Ricky Hardin going to get the brunt of that as we go back to caution.
Yeah, and so Gary Whitson was able to get a good restart there and hold on well enough to restart again from the top spot. So of course, caution after caution will help Gary. It reduces the amount of time Jeff Ward has to challenge him. If we were still green, we would probably have a battle for the lead by now. But I was really surprised at how hard Keith Medeiros was racing Bryce Whitson off of turn 2 on the restart there, considering Bryce is a chase driver. But I guess Keith Medeiros is just out here for the win, so he's not too concerned about whether someone's in the chase or not.
And race control reminded these guys that moving forward, and obviously in tonight's race, that those guys that are battling for the championship are going to have the yellow spoilers, the yellow splitters, and also the support beams on the back end of that race truck are going to be yellow. So they know who is battling for a championship, so in theory, they're going to not rough those guys up. However, how true that may be, we could consider this a short track. It is over a mile in length, but it is very flat and passing is very hard. So we'll have to see how respectful these guys get when it comes down to a win being on the line later on in tonight's action. But Gary Whitson did a solid job of hanging on up front for the little bit that he was out in the #1 spot. Gonna have to see if he's able to hang on to it if we get a long run, or if he can ride maybe a string of yellows here late in the race. And that would not even give Jeff Ward a shot to try to make that pass on him. So still a lot of unknowns moving forward.
Yeah, but let's not forget that 1 week ago it was not a trace race. So there is a possibility. What iRacing uses a lot for these custom paint schemes is something called trading paints. There is a possibility that some drivers in these fields, their trading paints may not have updated correctly, and so they may not actually know who's in the chase. They're just racing another truck in front of them, in their opinion. So let's talk about the chase drivers a little bit and where they're racing right now. We've got Gary Whitson in the lead. Bryce Whitson is in 4th. And then we have to go back to 7th to Nick Cohan. Tim Johnson is in 8th. He's been running up in the top 10 all day. And then there's a big gap back to Jim Fuchs, I believe, is the 5th chase driver currently in 15th. Jason Kristen in 17th. David Gibson, remember he was a lap down early in 19th. Alex Bates all the way back there in 20th. And I believe there are 2 more.
Dan Winter's also P18.
Oh, okay, Dan Winter, I realised I missed one right there. And then, of course, Aaron Cleanhands, who has actually got a couple of lucky dogs, is 3 laps down. He's the last of our chase drivers right now in 28th as the pace car lights go off, and we'll get gridded up for another restart on lap 62. And it's going to be a bit of a busy restart, so keep your eyes peeled. But we're going to do a crank it up on this restart and see what happens. But Gary Whitson and Jeff Ward, and I'll give you the rundown right now of what's going to happen. I have a feeling Gary Whitson's going to get a good restart. He's experienced enough in the series where he's pretty good at that. So the battle is either going to be on for 2nd or 3rd. And that all depends on what kind of restart Jeff Ward gets. If Jeff Ward is able to outrun Keith Medeiros into turn 1, he should be able to pull away from him. If not, you're going to see Keith Medeiros run hard on that inside line, because that's what he's been doing all race long, trying to get that win. Pace car about to peel off. Gary Whitson has control of the field. Here we go, let's crank it up. Tires is able to get the hook up off the corner, and we have one car in the wall, one truck back in the wall, and trying to get it. Looks like Tim Johnston. Yeah, Tim Johnston, one of the pace drivers, losing a couple of spots there, but it looks like he's been able to gather himself up, haven't? Although, no, he gets very close to having clean marks there. Wow, we almost had a couple of trucks swatted up coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, that was close. Adam Benefield on the inside slides up, and the 82 is been knocked around a lot tonight, has some damage, so Benefield trying to wheel that to a solid finish, and you'll get clear of Tim Johnson off the corner, so Benefield's going to hang on to P8 also. Keith Medeiros has been clear, he's second. Now caution.
Joshua Stenberg got spun, and it wadded up the track, and we still have trucks piling in. Dan Murray's in it, Ricky Hardin's in it, David Gibson, Mark Allen, Adam Patel, Aaron Greenhounds, lots of trucks in this one.
And it's going to be the 0-2 that causes that. Jason Kristen, one of our chase drivers, and thankfully the onboard didn't really make an abrupt movement, just overdrove the corner, or was expecting the 91 to be higher up the racetrack. The 91 was about a half a truck made into a truck off the wall than he could go, so maybe a little bit of a misjudgment there on the 0-2, but nonetheless they hooked the 91 around, and it's the 91 that ended up blocking the track. And with him being sideways, that's Joshua Stenberg, the 17, the 3, the 104 truck going to get a piece of it as well. You mentioned Dan Murray, and even relatively after it, all these guys come flying through. Tim Knott gets involved in it rather late. But caution going to go back out, and that's what happens when you get one caution at the end of the race. It's going to be a string of them. Split decision. Our leaders are going to stay out. Looks like the first truck down pit road appears to be Steve Ritter, maybe, as he's going to come in from service from a top 15 spot.
And Jason Kristen has apologized for causing the wreck, but he's got to put that in the back of his mind right now. He doesn't have too much damage on that truck. He's a chase driver. Some chase drivers are having very bad nights tonight, and this is a very unpredictable circuit. There he goes. He doesn't spend too long getting repairs. He's got to get out there and race again. Just forget that happened. Maybe play it a bit more cautiously, but still at the same time, a mistake is a mistake. It's going to happen in racing sometimes. It's a shame it took out so many trucks, but that's just part of the character of the circuit.
Yeah, and because there's such a little banking, you really gotta pedal it off the corner. You can't get right back to the gas and come flying out. You gotta, you can't really get all on the gas till you're straightened out off the corner. So, these guys are able to ride, in the early portions of the race. Once they're trying to battle for positions, they're giving it that little bit more that you really can't do at this racetrack. Again, it's so hard to be disciplined here and not overdrive it, that's what is leading to the string of yellow flags here that are currently late to going.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something we've got to consider is the EOL penalties. ASRS are very, they have no issue giving end of longest line penalties at the start of races to drivers that caused accidents in the previous races. So chase drivers have to be careful not only of not getting wrecked, but not wrecking others, because if they do that, they may have to start at the back in the next round, and that could make for a long day at the next race.
Well, we are going to get the lights off on the pace car this time by, so that will set us up for a lap 70 restart. Lap 70 restart, so that's going to be about 68, or not 68, 69. It'll be on lap 70, off lap 69, because the lights are off the pace car right now. It'll be maybe 18, 19 laps to go. And Jeff Ward now back out in front. 13, Machine Gary Whitson on the 2 tires will be restarting on the inside of the second row in third. So at this point, the only truck that I've seen show any sort of, drive that could really and honestly challenge Jeff Ward is Keith Medeiros in P2, but don't count out that 00. Chase hopeful of L. Bryce Woodson Jr. They'll be restarting in fourth on this one.
Yeah, and I don't think Keith Medeiros may not necessarily have the pace to challenge Jeff Ward. He just seems to have the motivation to do it. We have seen him race fender to fender with pretty much everyone who's ran in the top 5 today, and you can see as a result he has a bit of damage in that 65 track rather. But he's certainly going to want to challenge Jeff Ward, I believe, but at the same time, Jeff has just been so good at these restarts, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. And look, once again, Jeff gets a great restart, he's got the whole track to himself.
It's going to be side by side for second. Gary Whitson wants it, and that inside does not work, and he slides up, and 3 wide behind him. It looks like he's going to be clear for second. It's Keith Medeiros. Oh, the 07's going backwards. Cody Gibson down through the middle, and now the 82 again. Adam Benefield's going to get put in the wall.
Nick Cohan also got a little bit piece of that, and he gets loose in turn 3 and 4 right behind Jordan Harnish, who's done well to hold himself up there in about the top 5, the top 6. But yeah, there are a lot of near wrecks there, just no wrecks that happened, although they're still trying. Aaron Kleinhand's momentarily getting very close there. Aaron Kleinhand's really becoming friendly with that wall today. I'm sure he's regretting that friendship right now though.
That's Adam Benefield, 82. He keeps bouncing off the fence, and he's been pushed around all night long. We have one truck slow on the apron, gonna get out of the way for all these lead lap cars. It looks like Aaron Kleinhand's down on the apron as he rides multiple laps down. Benefield's battling pretty tough sideways off the corner. Now Benefield's in the wall again. And caution's gonna fly. Rough race continues for Adam Benefield.
Yeah, so we have mixed up for some reason which we don't know, but now you can see a similarity between their two trucks in that they are pretty wrecked. And Aaron Kleinhand has had more issues today, so he's probably not going to get back up on the lead lap. And Adam Benefield probably not going to get the win, but you can't blame him for trying. Meanwhile, Jeff Ward continues to lead around here. They will be just over 10 laps to go when they get the restart. So I have a feeling you're going to see most of these leaders stay out again under this caution.
And again, the string of yellows towards the end, and we've seen guys towards the back half of the lead lap amount of trucks come down pit road a couple of these times. Dan Murray's got some real major damage on both the front and the 5. Hopefully he's not in a side-by-side battle, because that 5 truck has been shrunk by a handful of feet. So Dan Murray may want to get that thing fixed, but that's pretty torn up, almost a comedic-looking number 5, the way it sits with that damage, so he's obviously had a rough night.
Keith Medeiros looks like he's coming down pit road. I think it's going to be a fake. Yes, it is, but he spins it as he comes back up onto the bank and then puts it in the wall.
Wow.
Wow, I've never seen anything like that. And even he's laughing at his own mistake. Well, there go Keith Medeiros' chances of winning. And that's going to help the Whitson brothers. Or, I don't know if they're brothers, the Whitson brother.
I have to say that that's got to be a first. I have never seen a driver top 3 take himself out of the race on a fake, and the drivers have given him the award for worst fake out. So he's gone just like that. That's racing, I guess. I mean, that's not something you see every race, and he's essentially out of it. He has laughed at his own misfortune on that mistake, but I mean, he had a shot to win this, and he's out of it now.
I think he knew it was a long shot. He's just here for the win, and really, no one's just been able to match the restarts that Jeff Waters got tonight. But I don't know if that's the worst fake of all time. I have a feeling you got to see my Elvis Presley impersonations before you can begin debating that.
We'll have to we'll schedule something like an after 9 o'clock show so that we can experience that, and then we'll have some sort of poll.
Well, if you follow GSRC on Facebook or at Twitter at GSR Channel, stay tuned the next couple of days, because we're probably going to have a replay of that fake, and I don't know, shamelessly promote it on our social media pages.
One of those remixes with like the dubstep, and it just keeps hitting the wall over and over.
Maybe. Meanwhile, let's talk serious. One driver who's done pretty good at... I mean, he's still not got a good night going for him yet, but he's still up on the lead lap. It's David Gibson. He's got a lot of damage on that number 3 truck, and if there's another big wreck at the end of this race, if he can get through it and, I don't know, score a top 15, that's really going to be making the most out of a bad night for that number 3 truck.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are on, damage recovery. You're trying to... in a gear that really is just trying to limit the point damage moving forward from tonight's race, especially those guys in the chase. Everybody else points really not that much of a factor right now, but for those guys that, yeah, they still do have 6 races rolling at it tonight, but you do not want to start behind. That's not what you want to do if you want to be a serious contender for the championship. So a lot of these guys having misfortunes either by their own doing or, by things out of their control, just getting caught up in incidents, are kind of on damage repair mode here and just trying to salvage whatever points they can. And again, you don't want to give up, because when it comes down to it, if you lose it by 1-2 points, and you think back to race 1 where you thought it wouldn't be that important and you just kind of, you know, stayed out of it, you'll be beating yourself up over that. So every position counts as we get set to go back green.
Yeah, let's remember the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship a couple of years ago. I think we came down to a 0-point battle. It was most wins that gave the guy the championship. We'll see if that happens this season. Meanwhile, Jeff Ward is not worrying about that. He just wants to win, and a restart like that may get it to him because he has already cleared the 0-0 of Bryce Whitson. But here comes his cousin, Gary Whitson, on the inside. Jordan Harnish not in the chase, running forward, gets close to Gary Whitson there. Gary Whitson losing out a little bit, it looks like.
He slid up on the 51 of Harnish, and he's actually going to get clear of him down the back. The 51 doesn't like that, and into the wall goes Jordan Harnish. Now side by side behind him, the 21 of Nick Cohan, and now the 51's going to give the 13 a shot. They're all bouncing off each other in 3 and 4. We're side by side for both 5th and 7th off the corner, and they single file out for the most part.
Yeah, I have a feeling Jordan Harnish...
a shot! 21 of Nick Cohan! And he saves it!
Oh, but there's a sprinter behind him. There's a big crash behind him. Benny Ellison. Adam Benefield again. What a save by Nick Cohan, though. Jason Kristen, a chaser in that.
Yeah, that's the 05. That's actually going to bring out the caution. Benny Ellison had some help. Oh, it wasn't his fault. The 61 of Jeffrey Gilliam just overdrove that corner by a long shot. And a whole lot of trucks in that. Almost at least 10 trucks getting some sort of damage in that one, but what a save by Nick Cohan as he got absolutely punted into the corner by the 38 machine. Just sent him in there, and what a job he did, not only to stay off the OD7 but to hang on to it. And because the caution flew, he will not lose any positions from that, because obviously those guys didn't get an opportunity to take advantage of their higher speeds down the back. But Nick Cohan, if he this is something to look back on. If he, you know, runs solid up there and is able to walk away with the championship, that could have been a defining moment right there, because he did a great piece of driving to hang on to his Chevrolet.
Yeah, and he is very well a driver who could hang on to the championship, but I got a feeling that everyone's going to be a little bit concerned, because when we get going again here, we're going to have about 5 or 6 laps left. A caution may end the race. So I think it's a matter of, if there is another caution, you just don't want to be in it. And if you're not in it, the position you're in is pretty much a position you get. If you're in it, then the position you're in is going to be about 10 positions better than the position you get.
Wave round is going to go to Aaron Kleinhans, who sits 8 laps down, or he will get some sort of wave round as he rounds the pace car, and his machine is one of those that has been severely torn up in tonight's race. A couple of guys down pit road for some more repairs under the caution here. Alex Bates, Benny Ellison, Tim Knott down to get their machines fixed. Also to note, Skip Witt, the number 90 machine, who we saw running in some top 10 positions, but was having trouble keeping the back end under him all night long. He is actually currently off the racetrack after getting some heavy engine damage to his machine under that most recent incident. And again, without that quick fix, his night may have been ended from that damage. Obviously the engine was not competitive at that point, so he's going to end tonight's race. He'll drop a couple of spots, maybe a top 25 position he'll be able to salvage, but his night comes to a premature close. You talked about the cautions. This may be our final shot at a restart, depending on when the lights go off, because again, if we get to maybe 5 or 4 laps to go, caution flag flies, that's it.
Yeah, so let's talk about a few of the chasers who are now in a bit of difficulty. We got Jason Kristen, who was involved in the latest caution. We got Jim Foos. I don't know when he got all that damage on the number 2 truck, but he certainly has a lot of damage. It looks squashed up. And I was just talking about him a moment ago. David Gibson, his truck isn't much to shout about either, but it's currently up there in 14th place.
And we're going to be on board here with Gary Whitson on this restart, who's going to be in 3rd. I think Jeff Ward's going to have it. It's going to come down to the restart. Okay, the outside, we have seen guys make passes on the outside, but nobody has been able to hang with Jeff Ward on the restarts. He is the control truck. So I think if that 00 of L. Bryce Woodson Jr. can guess when that 89 is going to go, and that's a risky move, because if you guess wrong, you can stack up that outside lane very quickly. But if he's able to hang with them, stay at that quarter panel into the corner, he may be able just to give Jeff Ward a run for his money when it comes down to it. I do believe it's going to be a 6-lap to go restart, so we do have a possibility of one more caution, one more restart, but it would have to happen in either the first lap or maybe even the second lap around. Otherwise, this thing will end on a caution if it flew.
Yeah, I think Bryce Whitson's got to think smart here. I mean, yes, he wants to win this race, but at the same time, unless he gets a really good restart, that's probably not going to happen. He's got to think about racing his cousin there, Gary Whitson, restarting third, and as long as he gets a hunt.
Green flag flies, and the 00 did not get going. The 13 is going to go to the inside. That is Gary Whitson. It is going to be a battle for second. Oh, nearly contact for third. The 51 is going to get a clip. That's Jordan Harnish. He hangs on to it. He's still sideways off the corner in front of traffic. 3 wide, and now a hooked around. The 38 is going to go around in front of traffic, and a big wreck down the back. Into the tires. Hard goes Jordan Harnish, and the 98 as well. Back under yellow.
Jordan Harnish actually stuck there on top of the tires and wedged in between him and Ricky Hardin's truck. Ricky Hardin has been on the sour end of pretty much every wreck tonight. Tim Johnson going for a spin, just trying to get going again. And what happened there is Nick Cohan got thrown up into the high line after making contact with Jordan Harnish. And as Nick was falling back, they went 3 wide and that all started. Now the good news for Nick Cohan is he was able to navigate his way through that, but I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of drivers a little upset with him. And really, what a sad night for Tim Johnston, because he had been running up in the top 10, the top 5 all night long. He's going to be lucky to get a top 20 finish out of this.
Remember how we were talking about if David Gibson would get a solid finish? He's 12th place.
Yeah, yeah, it's really all unfolding now. And I'm trying to see, we had a couple of trucks retire under the last caution. Alex Beanhans may be able to pick up a couple of points. It's still going to be like a 25th, so it won't be spectacular, but still a couple of points there. Still a lot can play out in this race, and unfortunate also to see Jordan Harnish down pit road there with the damage. And I say still a lot can play out in this race, Evan, because I'm not sure if we're going to get a one-lap shootout or not.
And the drivers are discussing with race control on the procedure for moving forward here. Gary Whitson wants this to end under yellow. He sits third right now. I think he is pretty satisfied with third because when we get closer again, these guys do have a limitation on incident points. So when it hits the fan here, and when we get a restart, a lot of these guys have a lot more than just positions up in the air because you don't want to pick up and pass that incident threshold or you'll be penalized for it.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we're going to be getting a couple of trucks getting pretty close. What lap are they completing right now? They're completing lap 85, so if they're given the 2 to go this time by, they'll know if this race is going to end at the green or not. Are you hearing any radio chatter?
They are discussing what the procedure is going to be for this restart. The lights are still on top of the pace car, so if they were to go off last time by, that would make it a one-lap shootout via iRacing. So we will have to see what happens if they do go off, and if it is a one-lap shootout, it doesn't matter if the whole field wrecks because there's no more cautions at that point. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But we go into 3 and 4 right now. We're currently working lap 86 of 88, so it is going to be 2 laps to go. This time by, race leader is the 89 of Jeff Ward. L. Bryce Woodson Jr. has somehow managed to hang on to the number 2 position. We'll see what the pace car does this time. I anticipate those lights to go off, which would be a one-lap shootout. We'll see by the stripe for confirmation. Do they go off, or will we have a restart? The lights are off. Yes. It's going to be one-lap shootout.
Okay. There might be a wreck on the restart here, and we say to any of the drivers watching this broadcast after the race, we feel really sorry that you wrecked, if you wrecked. But as far as we as broadcasters are concerned, we're really looking forward to this.
May wreck. You say may wreck, I say when. We'll see. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a one-lap shootout, 1 mile to decide it. Jeff Ward has been solid on the restarts all night. Watch those guys on the inside because they're the ones that have been sliding up, and this could get real ugly if something happens at the front because the flagman's put that caution flag in his pocket. We're going to go on board, and it's time to settle this one here at New Hampshire.
Jeff Ward, Bryce Whitson, Gary Whitson, Cody Gibson, Jared Haggerty, Tommy Ryan, Steve Ritter, Nick Cohan, Daniel Deflin, Dan Winter, that's your top 10. Dan Winter, that's a change driver. Alright, here comes Jeff Ward. Now he gets the car, he's going to clear the field, but the battle's going to be on the second between the Whitson cousins. They've been very respectful so far tonight, but it hasn't been the final lap until now. Bryce Whitson able to pull away a little bit. It's free ride for about fifth. It looks like the top four are okay.
Oh, a save for Jared Haggerty.
It looks like they're all going to get through this first half okay. It's really the round off the turn. It looks like Jeff Ward is going to take the win. What's going to happen back there about fifth there, about 3 wide? Jeff Ward is going to win here in New Hampshire, but what's going to happen behind him? Look at that, there's a spin of Cody Gibson. But it's after the finish line.
Cody Gibson, and they're all wrecking after the stripe. What a finish. Big wreck, cars up in the fence. And there was a lot of contact, Daniel, down in 3 and 4. One of those was for position number 3, as Gary Whitson just kind of knocked the 07 up out of the group, the 57 knocked the 16 up out of the group, and it did get ugly because the machine that was having all kinds of issues in the corner was the 81 machine, I want to say, or the 61 of Jeffrey Gilliam, who was on the outside and suck side. No, it was the 81 of Dan Winter, who you mentioned, a chase driver, but it did get ugly. Good news for most of the drivers is by the time they were upside down, they were past the start-finish line.
Yeah, and the good news is for every chase driver that finished on the lead lap got a top 18 finish. Really, the only chase driver that did not finish in the top 18 was Aaron Cleanhand, so I'm certain that the driver who got 18th, Tim Johnston, is not going to be too pleased with that, considering he'd been running in the top 5 most of the night. But I'll tell you what, it certainly could have been a lot worse. Jeff Ward, congratulations on the win. He wasn't able to pull it off last week, whereas we discussed after the race, everyone kind of thought he had the fastest truck. We'll be back to interview the top drivers here today at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where we just saw a race which I think my co-commentator Evan Pasoko described to me pretty accurately. He said it was that. Whatever that was, you can call it exciting, you can call it chaotic. It was pretty much had a bit of everything in it. But at the end of the day, Jeff Ward brought it across the line first. And Evan, let's do a rundown the finishing order here.
Yeah, that happened, and what that was, we do not know, but it did occur, and Jeff Ward was able to get the win. L. Bryce Whitson Jr. Would come home with a second-place finish. Gary Whitson in third. Cody Gibson rounds out in fourth place. Jared Haggerty, a top 5 result for him. Steve Ritter comes home in sixth. Tommy Ryan with a seventh-place finish. Nick Cohan in eighth. Daniel Deffler, the number 66, going to come home in ninth, so solid finish for him. And Jeffrey Gilliam going to round out the top 10.
Adam Benefiel rebounded to 11th after about 2 wrecks. Jim Foose, who was a chase driver, finished 12th. Dan Winter, quiet race there, he got 13th place, and David Gibson got 14th in the beat-up Truckmobile. Joshua Stenberg rounds out the top half of the field in 15th. He was actually disqualified for having too many incident points at the end of the race. Alex Bates 16th and Jason Kristen in 17th. Tim Johnston fell to 18th, one of the chase drivers who had a bad night tonight. Mark Allen in 19th, and Benny Ellison rounded out the top 20, also getting disqualified, as was Mark Allen in 19th, and in fact even Daniel Defflin in 9th.
And the top 20 would round out the cars on the lead lap. Tim Knott would come home in 21st, Adam Blattle 22nd, Jordan Harnish 23rd, not on the racetrack at the end of the race. Ricky Harden not on the racetrack as well, comes home 24th. Aaron Kleinhans was on the track, but a rough go for the 85 crew results in a P25 result. Skip Witt would finish behind the wall in 26th, Dan Murray 27th, Keith Medeiros 28th place, Carson Obey 29th, and Sean Music would round out our 30 truck field.
So let's talk to some of the drivers involved, starting off with our winner down here in Victory Lane. Jeff Ward, you got very close last week. This week you were able to pull it off. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks, Samuel. Yeah, that was a heck of a race there. A lot of fun, and Loudon's always been one of my favorite tracks, so I'm glad I was able to go in there and get it done this week. It was pretty slick out there though, but I was able to bring it home towards the end.
You say it was pretty slick, but you were getting excellent restarts. No one was able to challenge you pretty much all night tonight on those restarts. Had you been practicing, or how were you able to do that?
Well, I just kept it in second, and when I got to the red restart line there, I just, as soon as I got all 4 past it, I floored it, and it seemed to have pretty good grip on the flat straights there. Whenever the straightaways are flat like that, you can kind of just go with it without getting a whole lot of tire spin. So I just put the hammer down and tried to get up to the top groove, because you definitely want it to be up there. If you was stuck down on the bottom with the car up high, they would more than likely get by you. So yeah, we had pretty good restarts tonight.
Well, we got Las Vegas coming up next week. You're looking forward to that track?
You know, I haven't raced there a whole lot. When I have raced there, I've had a good time there. It's not one of my best tracks. My teammate Bryce was saying that's one of his better tracks, so I would expect him to go out there and have a good run. So we'll see what happens.
All right, well, congratulations on the win tonight, Jeff. You led, you led 78 laps of the 88 laps. Pretty dominant performance.
Yeah, thanks, Samuel. I'd like to thank American Sim Racing and you guys for doing the broadcast, and I'd like to thank my teammates, and we'll see you next week at Las Vegas.
We look forward to it. Well, that was Jeff Ward, our winner here tonight. Now we're going to speak to our second place finisher. I'll hand it over to Evan, who has caught up with Bryce Whitson.
Yeah, Bryce Whitson Jr. is going to be the highest placing chase driver tonight. He comes home in the number 2 spot, and I have to say, Bryce, that's a pretty clean looking 00 considering everything that went down tonight. But you were running up at the front of the field for a good portion of the race. You were just unable to get to Jeff Ward. You had a couple shots at him. What was the difference between running second and being able to challenge for that number 1 spot?
Tell you what, man, Jeff Ward was on it tonight. He had this place figured out. We didn't really have anything for him, so we took what we could get. I'm happy with the second place. I couldn't ask for more. This is one of my worst tracks on the chase, so I hope this looks for good things to come.
Well, coming up, it is going to be the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for race number 2 of the chase and race number 17 on the season. How confident are you moving into that 1.5 mile speedway?
Oh, I tell you what, 1.5 miles are probably my favorite tracks here on the iRacing service. There and Talladega will be a lot of fun for us. So we're really looking forward to it and think that we have a opportunity to move forward here in the next few races.
You talked about the fact that this is one of your least favorite tracks, so getting a top 2 finish, that's got to give you like a morale boost or give you some confidence rolling forward into these, these next few races, and kind of has to tell yourself, or at least get in your mind, that you're going to be a serious contender for this championship again, especially because you were the highest finishing chase driver tonight.
Oh, definitely. I believe wholeheartedly that this chase is going to come down to Gary and I in the end, and I think this was the start that we both needed to see.
And definitely. Well, before we let you go, sponsors and shout-outs, who makes it happen for you and the crew?
Tell you what, Felt Bicycles and Zoot Triathlon Apparel makes it really well, and then of course my wife for letting me run these things, because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Happy wife, happy life. Congratulations on the top 2 finish, and we'll be keeping on for you in that 00, not only up front next week, but being a contender in the championship rolling forward.
Thank you much, Evan.
Samuel, that is L. Bryce Whitson Jr. He comes home second tonight, and you've caught up with, I believe, our 3rd place finisher, Gary Whitson.
Gary Whitson, our 3rd place finisher, and in fact our top 3 finishers tonight were the only 3 drivers in the top 28 who did not have an incident point at the end of a race. Gary, how were you able to keep it that clean running in the middle of a top 5 like that?
Well, this isn't one of my best tracks, so I was just trying to keep the Sunoco Chevy clean, not get caught up in anybody's messes. Was able to pull a little pit strategy there to get a top 5, and glad that one's over with.
Yeah, we noticed on that pit strategy, the 2 tires, it seemed to... all the cautions at the end seemed to help there. Are you satisfied with 3rd? Did you think you would fall back further, or were you thinking you could have stayed in the top spot?
Well, I come into the race wanting the top 10. Super hard to pass out there. Seems like every time I tried to pass, I lost a spot or 2. So pulled the pit strategy, just hoping to maybe salvage a top 5. So pretty ecstatic about 3rd, honestly.
Certainly, and that's going to give you a good spot in the chase moving on forwards to Las Vegas next week. How do you like Las Vegas Motor Speedway?
Quite well. All the 1.5 miles seem to suit my driving style really well. Unfortunately, the field has got super competitive here the last 6-8 weeks, so it's going to be tight. Drafting's going to be big, and just looking to have another good, clean race.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Gary, and we look forward to seeing how well you can do in the chase.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, and our final driver that we're going to interview tonight is Jared Haggerty, our 5th place finisher, and Evan has called up with him.
You were down on pit road with the number 57 machine at Jared Haggerty. Jared, you're able to come home with a top 5 finish. How did you methodically pick your way through the field? Looks like you got some right side damage on that truck at the end of the night, but really, who didn't get any damage? You started 18th. How were you able to walk away with that top 5 result?
Tell you what, man, lots of luck and lots of bumping and banging. I mean, it was a tough fight getting through there in the first place. I mean, I feel really bad on doing some of the moves I did, but I just really had to be aggressive tonight and get on the wheel to even come away with the top 5.
Walk us through what was going through your mind when those lights went off on a pace car coming to 2 laps to go in this race, which meant it was going to be a 1-lap shootout. We saw you doing a little bit of Gymkhana maybe off of corner number 2 on the last lap. Walk us through how you were able to hold off Steve Ritter and company.
Well, I knew the high line was going to be the dominant line all night. I really feel bad about putting Bryce up there in the 8th on the top side of the track there on the last lap, but I really had to do what I had to do at that point to hold my position and try to gain positions as well.
Well, a top 5 result is very solid considering a lot of the drivers that have run at the top of the points had a really rough going tonight. Those drivers battling for the chase for the championship. What are your thoughts moving forward? 1 week's time, going to be racing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I mean, what are you looking forward into that one?
I'm really looking forward to that one. Vegas is one of my better tracks. I'm actually really excited to come away with the top 5 right now. This is my second top 5 in a row, and actually my second week, only my second week here. So I'm really looking forward to Las Vegas and racing with all the guys, and hopefully I'll be able to come away with the top 3, maybe even a win.
Well, before we let you walk away, do you have any sponsors or shout-outs do you want to thank?
Yeah, I gotta thank the 105th Squad again for putting their logo all over my truck. Gotta thank my family, of course, and thank you guys for putting on this broadcast. I gotta thank American Sim Racing for inviting me, and let's go to Las Vegas and have a good run, y'all.
Well, it's going to be back-to-back top 5 finishes. Congrats on your 5th place result tonight, and we'll keep an eye on where you and that 57 truck runs next week.
Thank you guys, and have a good night, and thank you for broadcasting for us. Y'all do a great job.
Well, we appreciate the kind words. That is Jared Haggerty. He comes home with a 5th place result tonight, Samuel.
5th place after starting 18th. Now, let's give you an idea of why we're having a confusion what to call this race. There were 30 trucks in tonight's race, and between them they scored 205 incident points, which is about an average of 7 incident points per truck. Yet, 20 of the 30 trucks in the field, 2/3 of the field, still finished on the lead lap. That's why, even though as chaotic as it was, we're still amazed and pleased to see so many trucks able to have solid finishes, despite all the beating and banning that we saw out there. We would like to thank Jim Foose and the organisers of this league for putting this series on for us. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Kevin and Evan. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel if you want to see some clips of Nick Cohan's drift and Keith Medeiros' failed fake into pit road. That'll probably be up on Facebook later this week. A big thanks to Dougie Beard for creating the camera sets that you saw during this stream, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes and Spotify. If you like the music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. And also I would like to give a shout out to everyone who has subscribed to GSRC on YouTube. We hit 1,000 subscribers this week. That is a major milestone, and we'd like to thank you for subscribing and watching our broadcasts, and keep this going, because we started off as just a group of people, and now we're here. Next race in the series will be at Las Vegas, 9 p.m. Eastern Time next Wednesday, September 24th, same time, different place. Friday, though, we have a broadcast this Friday. That's the iSuper Speedway. They'll be racing the Cup cars at Talladega at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. This Saturday, we have the MX-5 World Tour, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. They will be racing Miatas at Sebring. On Sunday, the VSRA will be racing Riley's at Watkins Glen at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, October 4th, the CESCS will be back in action at Road America. And on Sunday, October 5th, Northwest Majors will be having their Petite Le Mans at Road Atlanta with all of the GT cars that are on the iRacing service. That includes the BMW Z4, the Roof Track, the McLaren MP4 and the Ford GT. Until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.